today's episode is going to be, there's a lot of, this is the biggest probably question at this game is how to run it. What computer do you need to run it? And after years of research, I know exactly the answer to that. And I'm going to solve a lot of problems that people are having. One of the biggest one is I'm using a Sandy Bridge in a 56 a GTX 560 Ti, and I'm going to tell you why you should never even think about that. So let's make this video sweet and simple for you. You are a new person that tried the game out, wants a better computer to run it because it is the hardest darn computer to run. I've got a lot of I got a couple of price ranges for you, but if you're new to this game and you don't know this hobby, this game is a incredibly hard game to run. You will be spending $1,000 or more on a computer to run it anywhere close to where you want. Most of you are probably going to say, I can just go get a 2500K and a 560 Ti to run the game. Yeah, you're going to be running at 30 frames, going to have a lot of glitches, and the hardware is ancient. Do not do that. It is wrong. It makes no sense. So, really, what are the two big things in FSX that you need to know? Well, A, people are trying to run i5 4670Ks with GTX 550 Ti's and say that is a good experience. It is not. Trust me. What you need is pretty much not the best hardware, but the newest hardware. You don't need 4-year-old hardware. It's not going to run the game as you like it. It is bad hardware. Well, it's not bad hardware, but it's old hardware. It makes no sense to buy, really. Why buy something that's 4 years old when you have a brand new version of it that's top of the line today that's pretty much the same price? It's the same price, but just better in pretty much every form factor or way you could think of. The only difference is people will say, oh, it gets hotter. It doesn't get hotter. While you're running a freaking Sandy Bridge at 5 gigahertz, it's a Haswell at 4.5 gigahertz is going to match that performance because it is a faster CPU. It is a very strong GPU, not GPU, what am I thinking, CPU. It has much more power per clock. You're going to run it at the same performance, about 0.5 gigahertz away from each other. So, well, yes, it will run hotter because it's a more powerful chip. You're not going to be running at 5 gigahertz. You're going to be running at 4.5, 4.6, 4.7, 4.8. You're not going to be running at 5. That's insane. That's why most people think, well, the Haswells are crappy because I can't overclock at 5 gigahertz. Well, you don't need to get the performance you want out of it. Well, you just overclock to 4.5, and if you have a Sandy Bridge at 5, they're going to run the same, pretty much. They're, like, for example, there's somebody I know who's running a Sandy Bridge at 4.6. I'm running my Haswell at 3.8, and mine's kicking his butt. It's killing it. Not the reason why he has a GTX 660. I have a GTX 770. Most people aren't going to let us contribute because FSX doesn't need a GPU. That leads me on to the next category. Most people think that the GPU is totally useless in FSX. Just get rid of it. Why we should even have it in FSX to get good performance? That is completely false. Most people think, well, for example, there's like a graph, and each game needs about the same amount of power to run, and they just fill FSX's space with CPU and leave a tiny bitty part for GPU of the performance for the parts that matter about performance. And they see other games that's entirely filled up with GPU and entirely little bitty tiny bit of CPU. Well, FSX needs about 4 times the amount of power to run than any other game, and it's pretty much exceeding all the other games in GPU power, and the rest is filled up with CPU. You need an incredibly good GPU to run FSX amazing. You also need an incredibly good CPU to run FSX how you want it to run. The best thing you can do, though, because I know you guys are not going to go buy $1,000 Titans and $1,000 4960Xs. You're going to be sitting back and say, I don't want to spend that much. You're going to be pretty much the cap for both the CPU and GPU is going to be $500. Most people that not even listening to any advice are going to go spend $400 on the CPU and spend $100 on that GPU. What's going to happen? You're going to bottleneck your CPU. Why? Because the CPU is running at a much higher speed. It's capable of running at a much higher speed, but the GPU can't keep up. And what the GPU is doing is slow down. I can't keep up with you. And CPU is gonna not perform as great as, because most people are saying like, well, I have a 2700K and the guy over there has a 2700K with a GTX 590 and he's running at 400 frames per second, for example, just a raw number, and I'm running 100 frames, and I have a GTX 550. Well, you're bottlenecking your CPU. You should not be running a GTX 560 with an i7. You should be running a 570 or up. Pretty much, your benchmark is i5, either a 550, 560, or not even that. Pretty much, how NVIDIA breaks the first number, for example, 5 and 570. The first number is generation. The generation we are on when I'm recording this video is the 7th generation. So you want to say 7 whatever. The middle number is the model of that card. And what starts with 1, 1's the worst, and 8's the best single GPU card. The 9 is a dual GPU card that come out by every 2 generations. So you want 7 in the middle. If you're using an i7, you either want a 7 or an 8. For an i7, you either want a 5 or a 6 if you're using a very good i5. So with that in mind, keep this in mind. You really have to keep those GPU and CPU pretty much level. Back to the $500 thing. If you have $500, be $250 on CPU, $250 on GPU, you will have a much better experience than if you bought a $400 CPU. The reason being is you have a very matched system. It's very nice. They all correspond together greatly. They're evenly matched. They're neck and neck the entire way playing the game. You'll get a much better gaming experience. But so that pretty should put the end. Anybody who says, no, FSX needs a GPU. All those textures. For example, if this was FSX and you saw those like, that's GPU. The clouds are GPU. Everything you see is a GPU. All the textures, everything is all GPU. It's the CPU just does a generation, the physics, and systems. It's all GPU. Whatever you see is done by the graphics card. It's not done by the CPU. So most people think, well, it's all done by the CPU. It's not. CPU isn't a graphic processing unit. GPU is. Graphics card processes textures. And that's what FSX, most people go and jump in the cockpit and think, oh, why are my textures taking forever? Because you have a crappy GPU. You have one with a very slow memory clock. Get a better GPU and it won't happen, won't it? Get a better, more RAM on it. Won't happen, won't it? So, that's the biggest theory, I think, going around today. Get an even system. Please, 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 please. If you can't afford a good CPU or GPU, either A, the most recommended way is save your pennies and get a better one. B, you get them. Just get whatever the best you can out of both categories. $200, get $100 GPU, $100 CPU, you'll be fair. That's pretty much just my raw look at that. I'm not going to go any further into it. Back to the hardware age thing. Get the best of the best. There's no reason to go back. That's all I'm going to say this. There's no reason to go back down. There is absolutely no reason. Why? So, I hope you guys found that informative. Now let's jump into the systems. Pretty much the i5 4670K. The first one's going to be your budget. The next one's going to be high overclocking. The next one is going to be the intro to the i7, and that's going to be a mild overclocking. Next one's going to be high overclocking on the 4770K. And the fifth one's going to be extreme, best of the best. You don't care about how much money you spend, you just want the best gameplay. You have the i5 4670K, and once again, all these systems, 5 different categories processor it has. The first one's going to be your mild build for about $1,200. This may seem a lot, but really, it's not. Of course, I added a couple things that you may want to add or disadd. So let's start. We have the Intel i5 4670K. It's a 3.4 gigahertz, boost up to 3.8, but that doesn't care because it's a K. You're going to be overclocking it. This is a mild overclocking build, though, so we don't need a big cooler. So we want the Hyper 212 Evo. Very nice cooler for the price. It's only $34. That is an insane price for this cooler. It will keep your CPU very cool, up to about 4.5 gigahertz. Motherboard, there was a lot of choices. You can change this, but one I'm very big fan of is the AZRX Z87 Extreme 3 ATX board. Very good board for the price of many features on the board. Next thing up, we have the Corsair Vengeance 8GB RAM. This is the RAM that's pretty much going to stay with all of our builds until the Extreme build. It's very, 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 very nice RAM. Very nice RAM for the price. Most people go out and buy freaking 2100 RAM and think it's gonna run faster than now. 1600 megahertz is fine. 8 gigabytes is plenty. FSX will never be able to use 8 gigs of it. Unless you're doing video editing, then you want to throw that up. But this will not be the build for you if you're doing video editing too. For storage, we want the Western Digital Caviar Black. This is entirely up to you, this category. It's a $93 hard drive. You can go get a $50 one. It doesn't really matter. Since you're going to be paying this budget, you probably want to be going a lower instead of almost $100 hard drive. You're probably going to get a $50 500 gigabyte freaking Western Digital whatever color. If this is not for you, it's fine. That's one of the things. This and the case are one of the things where you can totally get whatever you want. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whatsoever performance. The only thing it would matter is if we get an SSD, which FSX doesn't really use. It wouldn't really matter anyways. In that case, you would just get an SSD for the operating system. Now on the graphics card, we have to match the performance of this 4670K. 760 is really the best card for this for the buck. Is an extremely nice card. It's pretty much like a GTX 670 overclocked. Very nice. It just that's all I'm gonna say. It's a very nice card. 2 gigabyte card. You can upgrade to a 4 later on, but I would once again get it now. Just get a 4 gigabyte now. The Cooler Master half. That's a case. The only reason I picked this, I have no clue what that case looks like. I just picked it for the price. $80. That's pretty much what most people are going to be spending on cases at this level, maybe even cheaper. So I just threw a good case out there to just to give you that kind of price point. The case is entirely up to you, though. It doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is if you want to get a very good case of airflow, you can get a big case. If you want a small one, that's fine, but if you're going to do overclocking, it's going to get hot, get a big case for better airflow. Power supply, once again, is kind of you can kind of, but make sure it's bronze certified, make sure it's pretty good. You don't want a crappy power supply, just don't. It's too many things wrong with it. 650 watts is a good power. That's actually about 50 watts over the what we really need for this, but it'll give you room, add extra hard drives, whatever later. Always plan to, hard drive is the one thing you can upgrade in the future. It doesn't really do anything. If you ever want to add it, make sure the power supply is ready for it. So we got pretty much the 650 watt for our purposes. Optical drive, I just picked the cheapest one. Most people say, oh, you don't need an optical drive. Well, FSX you do, because it's all CD still. So, I mean, yes, I threw it in there for that. Operating system, there's only really one. You can go Windows 8. I have Windows 8 right now, if you can see that, but FSX runs fine on it. I don't see what the problem is. There's only been one problem, which was the control issue, which I fixed by buying FSU IPC. But, I mean, you probably would still want to go with Windows 7. 64-bit, that's kind of standard. Home Premium, so very good price. Then all this is up to you. I'd add none. Network, we just add on to that. So total is $1,000, pretty much, almost exactly. So let's move on to the next build. Pretty much the same part list, except a couple things. Once again, the same CPU. The cooler is a better one. It's the H10, so it's going to be doing a little better overclocking up to 4.5 up. A little better motherboard, the AZRock Vitality 1. Very good motherboard. It's the 87. The Corsair Vengeance 8 gig, that's standard. For pretty much all the build up to the highest 4770K one. Western Digital, same hard drive. The graphics card's a little better. It's GTX 770. This is the best card for the buck. I pretty much agree. All this is it's the same exact chip. People say a 680 is better. No, it's the same chip as the 680. Same exact. There's nothing different with it. All it is, it's a clock higher, has better memory, and it runs cooler with the better cooling on it. You can change just whatever kind of card you want. I chose the EVGA. Same with all the other builds, but I mean, $388. That's actually, you can go find a 770 for about $330, I think now. Okay, same thing, just for the price. Same power supply, same writer. Nothing really need to change about that. And Windows 7 Premium, same. That's pretty much the same for all of them. These two are pretty much the same for all. Stepping it up to the i7. Now, this is another thing that I forgot to talk about earlier. Sorry about that, but the i5 versus the i7. FSX doesn't need an i7. It doesn't. The only thing you'd benefit from is the extra catchy. That's it. Pretty much it. You will see a tad bit overclocking when I get to the charts. You will see a bit more, but rather than that, it just has the extra catchy. If you're on a budget, you really don't. This build right here is the best build for your buck right now. The last one, I forgot about the last one. I forgot about the price. It's going to come in around about $1,300 for the last build. On the 4770K, yeah, it's stepping up. It's pretty much the same amount actually, just a little more. It's pretty much the same build actually. We have the Intel i7 4770K, very nice CPU. It's best i7 available if you're not going to the extremes. Cooler, same cooler as the original 4670K one because we're not going to be doing much overclocking. This is the light one. Same motherboard. I stepped it up a motherboard on this one because a 4770K, you might want to add another graphics card, another network card, or whatever. This will give you that expansion. It's a little nicer board to support. It was an overall $20 more. Motherboard's a very important decision. Most people kind of walk over it, but it's a very important decision. RAM 8 gigs, same. That is completely up to you. Once again, same graphics card as the last build. We're not going to be using much overclocking, so it's the same. Cooler master, once again, same power supply. You may want to step that up if you're planning on getting a graphics card, but if you are, step it up. New optical drive, not new, whoops. Same optical drive, same operating system. Now we go up to the high overclocking 4770K. This is if you have a little extra more money to spend and you're looking for a good PC that'll run FSX smoothly, no problem. This one will run FSX smoothly, no problem at freaking 60 frames per second. But let's get into it. Alright, this is pretty much the best build anybody's going to be purchasing. The next one's kind of insane, but we got one for the same processor, 4770K, the H110, very nice cooler. I use it in the high overclock 4670K just because of its awesomeness. Z87 Deluxe motherboard. That's the expensive motherboard. It's an Asus, so you're getting what you pay for. It's a very nice motherboard. Same memory. This is when if you're buying this, you have a little more extra money to spend. I went with a HyperX, Kingston HyperX SSD for your FSX. I see most FSX drives averaging around 100 gigabytes, so I went with a 90 gigabyte just to give you that extra storage in there. You could actually swap these two, make this one your FSX drive if you have a lot of, for example, Orbix scenery. Switch swap those. One has a OS on it, one has FSX on it, and this is just your mass storage drive. We went up to a better graphics card, the GTX 780. Just the reason we want to keep that level up with the CPU so we don't have any bottlenecks whatsoever. And for highly overclock 4770K, it's going to draw a little more bandwidth than a 4670K, so we went with the 780. Case, once again, just a price bench point. We want the better power supply, 850 watt, because we have the 780 in there. It's the same as 770 power draw wise. I think it's a little more actually, but we went with an extra one because you also have those two SSDs. So just a little more oomph into it. Same for both the optical drive and the operating system. Now for the best of the best. I keep forgetting to say the price. $2,000. No, that's a lot. This one, almost $3,000. $3,000. This is a pretty killer one. This is just saying that I'll explain that later. First off, the main jewelry, the 4820K. This is pretty much useless for FSX. The reason you're probably doing video editing, you're probably doing more on this PC than just FSX, because this is kind of pretty much almost useless for FSX. But it's a very nice processor for the price, and it's about the same. It's really the same as a 4770K, but you're really paying for the motherboard and the bragging rights for the 2011 socket. Same cooler, very nice cooler. We're going to be using some extreme overclocking on that baby, so might as well go for a good cooler. we took the Asus Sabertooth X79, a very nice motherboard. It's $315, but it's extraordinarily nice motherboard. Very nice. With 16 gigs of memory, and with doing, you're probably doing video editing and stuff like that on this, so with some little better memory, it's a little faster and you have more of it. Same storage configuration as the last one. Now this is where people are going to argue with me. I have two 780 Ti's. Most people are going to say, why are you running it 2-way SLI? This is the best of the best. In this system, you're either running a home cockpit or multiple screens. And you probably want that extra memory, you want that extra power. Remember, you're probably doing extra things on this one too. So I went with 2. I mean, this is the best of the best build. It won't give you any benefit in FSX, but I mean, for other applications it will. If you have more screens, it will give you a major increase in performance. So if you ever want to play another game, this is pretty much, there's the 2 best graphic cards on the planet at the moment. So, I mean, why not? Once again, just a price bench point. Actually, this one I probably need to change to a Corsair 750D, because you're going to be spending a little more on that case. We went with the killer, super awesome power supply. The reason, because we have two 780 Ti's, multiple hard drives, very good motherboard, which probably needs supplementary power for, very nice cooler, which we need more power for. So we went with a 1300 watt one, which is a very nice, once again, in a killer price there for it, 200 almost $200. So very nice power supply for the guys at EVGA. It's fully modular too, so all your power cables and everything are modular. You can replace cables, do whatever you want with it. Same old drive, it's the same operating system. This is a good pull unit at $30,000. A lot. The one thing, this is just saying that the X79 chips, because this is an Ivy Bridge, this is as well as Ivy Bridge, so you may have to update your board, but that's not really a big deal. So let's jump in the benchmarks here. Yep. Alright, so your i5 mild, you're going to get about 35 to 40 frames, going up to an i5 Extreme, 48 frames, very close to the i7 mild. The reason the i7 mild, well, you said the i7 doesn't benefit FSX much more. You have that extra video card power in there. That really boosts it up. So 55 frames, then you want the i7 Extreme, which you have the 780 and the freaking super overclocked i7. It's going to give you 65 frames. And the best of the best, 80 frames or higher. This is pretty much what I've taken from the hardware, what I've known in the past, and just thrown it in here. This is kind of a guess, but it's a very educated guess, and this is probably what you're going to get. This would be with an NGX setting at Chicago Midway, Fly Tampa, Rex 4, Opus running, and maybe an A-car system running. Maybe Aerosoft Cities, but that's pretty much a benchmark off of it. You're getting 80 frames. That's a beautiful performance increase on the best of the best, but most people aren't going to be buying two 780 Ti's. You can also back it up to one 780 Ti, but you know, best of the best, why not? So the best system really for you guys, most people say, oh, well, I only need 35 frames, 35 to 40 frames. This isn't a good build, but I mean, that's all I need. Go with the i5 model. That's going to be suitable for most people. The i5 Extreme, maybe for those, you know, little guys who want to go a little more. Then the best bang for your buck pretty much is the i7 mild, which is the same as the Extreme. It gives you 55 to 60 frames per second. A very intensive situation. So I would definitely go for the i7 mild. That's pretty much what I have. So by the time I start doing Extreme videos, I'll probably have a 4770K with a GTX 770. The i7 Extreme, just once again for those guys who just want to get the best performance for their buck, go with the freaking super graphics card and the best of the best processor. So I can zoom in a little. Then the best of the best, not many people at all are going to be buying that, but 80 frames to 90 to pretty much infinity. Very nice system. You'll just look at that gap. That's pretty much just from the raw processing power of those two 780 Ti's and that super extreme 4820K just going away at FSX. To wrap this up, guys, you don't need the best of the best around FSX. You can run it at 20 frames very smoothly, very nice with a unoverclocked i5 with a GTX 650 Ti boost. You'll have a good, enjoyable time. But if you really want to step the game up, if you want to have very good performance, just don't have to worry about the computer at all whatsoever after you buy it, go for the i5 mild, tube out the i7 mild, and you'll be good to go. Anything up, you're probably gonna have to do a little bit of maintenance, and it's a very nice computer, so be doing a little more on it. For you guys who just don't really care much for the money, just want a very good system, I would go for the i7 Extreme. Budget guys, i5 mild. For you guys in the middle that, you don't want to spend much money at all, but want to get a very good experience, the i5 Extreme or the i7 mild. For the buck, I would go with the i7 mild since they're about the same. So wrapping this all aside, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want to see more of these, I will post them. The reason I would probably do a FSX edit guide, but I just reformatted FSX and I really don't want to do it again. So when I do that in a couple months, I will post numerous videos on that. Because I have a very large FSX, it's like 90 to 120 gigabytes, and I really don't want to uninstall it all just for a couple of YouTube videos. If I screw them up, I have to go back and uninstall it all again. So I will do that next time I reformat. So thanks guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Do whatever you want, whatever comments. I'll be happy to go back and answer those comments for you. Post some system descriptions, and I will see what you need to upgrade or whatsoever. Anybody who hates this video and thinks it's completely wrong, trust me, you are wrong. If you do not support your answer up with backup information, and I do not want to be with people, oh, 2500K and a 550 Ti play FSX fine. It will, but what happens when Flight Beam starts releasing freaking super airports and a bunch of people start releasing good airports, and yeah, what happens to that 550 Ti? It's dead, it's gone, it ain't gonna play it. After this, the 750 Ti release, that's probably gonna go with the i5 mild. But rather than that, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Once again, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys later.